Again, I'm back, and this, of course, is Mystery Unsolved. I'm, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu, and seeing as nobody watches this, I don't really have to say what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, just for the sake of saying it. This will be the second to last episode of Mystery Unsolved before I decide to take a small hiatus to figure out what I want to do with the show. Pretty much because nobody really watches this, and it feels like I'm talking to myself. And if you think I like talking to myself, you'd be partly right, because I sort of do, but at the same time, I don't. At least not when it comes to video. With that being said, tonight's episode is, well, it might sound familiar to only me, because again, who else watches this? We are going to the Winchester Mystery House. Fun fact, I actually did an episode on this back in the very beginning, but apparently it got lost in translation. And also because I probably did it over on Instagram and I can't for the life of me find out where the hell it went. So I figured, well, what better way to close off, well, to somewhat close off the series for now than to do the Winchester Mystery House. Once again, for those that don't know what the Winchester House is, well, you live under a rock. There's no other easy way to say that, but you do. Without further ado, let us go to Winchester Mystery House. The Winchester Mystery House is a mansion in San Jose, California that was once the personal residence of Sarah Winchester, the widow of firearms magnate William Wirt Winchester. His initials were literally WWW. Located at 525 South Winchester Boulevard in San Jose, the Queen Anne-style Victorian mansion is renowned for its size, its architectural curiosities, and its lack of any master building plan. The last sentence, the last little bit there is probably very key here, in its lack of any master building plan, which we, of course, will soon find out why. It is designated a California Historical Landmark and is listed on the National Register of Historical Places. It is privately owned and serves as a tourist attraction. So just think, simple old little house that was built back in the day is now a historical attraction. But why? Well, of course, you probably do know why, but let us find out, shall we? Since its construction in 1886, the property and mansion were claimed by many to be haunted by the ghosts of those killed with Winchester rifles. Under Winchester's day and day, yeah, Under Winchester's day-to-day guidance, its from the ground up construction proceeded around the clock by some accounts without interruption until her death on September 5th, 1922, at which time work immediately ceased. However, Winchester's biographer says that she routinely dismissed workers for months at a time to take such rest as I might, and that this flies in the face of claims by today's mystery house proprietors that work at the ranch was ceaseless for 38 years. So I'll clear a little bit of that up because I am a little bit confused upon reading that. But the construction began in 1886, and it didn't stop until her death, September 5th, 1922. That is a long ass time to be building on a house. So that's just pretty much living in the house, and for as long as she lived there, the construction was always being built on it. Always. However, biographer says that she routinely dismissed workers for months at a time to take such rest, and that this flies in the face of claims by today's mystery house proprietors that work at the ranch was ceaseless for 38 years. Okay, so ceaseless meaning there was no, she always had somebody working on the house. That's what they're saying. But there was never a point when she lived at this house that there wasn't someone working on it, which of course I definitely would believe because As you will soon find out, this place is nutty. After her husband's death from tuberculosis in 1881, Sarah Winchester inherited more than $20.5 million, equivalent to $550 million in 2020. She also received nearly 50% of ownership of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, giving her an income of roughly $1,000 per day, equivalent of $27,000 a day in 2020. Can you imagine? $1,000 a day just because you inherited it. After her infant daughter died of an illness known as Maramus, a children's disease where the body wastes away. Oh, God, poor thing. And her husband died of pulmonary tuberculosis. A Boston medium supposedly channeling the spirit of her late husband that she should leave her house in New Haven and travel west, where she must continuously build a home for herself and the spirits of people who had fallen victim to Winchester rifles. So, right away, like, the only reason she built this house was because a medium told her to. A Boston medium. A Boston medium told Sarah Winchester to build a house nonstop for the rest of her natural born life to appease the spirits of those killed by the guns that her husband made. It makes sense, but at the same time it doesn't. You know, it's a little nutty. All right, I will skip that part. Okay, she left New Haven and headed for California. She may have simply sought a change of setting and something to keep her occupied during her lengthy depression. However, others maintain that she believes she must move west and continuously build a house, the sounds of whose construction would keep at bay the spirits of those who had fallen. Okay, we already know that. She purchased the infamous place. Okay. Carpenters were hired and worked on the house day and night until it rose to 7 stories. Eschewing architects, she directed the additions herself, uh, augmenting the building in a haphazard fashion. As a result, contains numerous oddities such as doors and stairs that go nowhere, windows overlooking other rooms, and stairs with oddly sized risers. Environmental psychologists have theorized that the house's odd layout itself contributes to the feeling that it was, and perhaps still is, haunted. So yeah, the one thing that's widely known about this house is there's stairs and doors that go to nowhere. Like you could walk up 13 stairs. More on that number in a minute. You walk up 13 stairs, and it's just a wall. It doesn't go anywhere. There's other ones where you go up I believe you go up 2 stairwells, and there's a door. You open the door, you're pretty much outside. It's like outside the house. There's no porch. There's no roof. It's just nothing. And then there's windows on top of walls. It's really weird. It's really crazy. And the other thing to note is that the number 13, I believe it's 13 for obvious reasons, is prominent throughout the house. So every single stairwell, there's 13. In one of the rooms, I believe it's a ballroom. We might come across it later on, but there's a ballroom, I believe, and it's gonna. Oh God, there's 13 light fix like there's 2 light fixtures, I believe, on each side of the um the room, and there's 13 of each. And there's a couple fireplaces, and there's like 13 designs of something on each fireplace. There's 13 bathrooms in the house, something like that. The number 13 is widely seen around throughout the house. Before the 1906 earthquake, the house had been 7 stories high, and carpenters may have been brought in initially to repair damage caused by the quake. Today it is only 4 stories. The house is predominantly made of redwood, as Mrs. Winchester preferred the wood. However, she disliked the look of it. She therefore demanded that a fox grain and stain be applied. This is why almost all the wood in the house is covered. Approximately 20,500 U.S. gallons of paint were required to paint the house. The house itself is built using a floating foundation that is believed to have saved it from total collapse in the 1906 earthquake and the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. So yeah, one thing about living in California is you have to worry about those earthquakes. Over on this side, it's hurricanes. Over there, it's earthquakes. This type of construction allows the house to shift freely, as it is not completely attached to its brick base. Right, because I mean, you figure if it's winding and it's kind of going all the way up, most of that's not going to be on bricks. So naturally, if something, like an earthquake comes along, it's just going to rupture the foundation quite easily. All right, here we go. Here's the number count of rooms. You don't have to, for anybody who watches this, if you want to do a fun little thing and write down the number of rooms, feel free. There are roughly 161 rooms. 161 rooms. As of right now, as of how I read this, there are roughly 161 rooms, including 40 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, 1 completed and 1 unfinished, as well as 47 fireplaces, over 10,000 panes of glass, 17 chimneys, with evidence of 2 others, 2 basement levels, and 3 elevators. I'm just going to let you take that all in. 2 ballrooms. Imagine building a house and being like, hey, I'm going to build myself a ballroom. You know what? I'm going to build another ballroom. But you already have one. Why not? Spirits will love it. They can dance the night away. 2 basement levels. That one's kind of perplexing. Isn't a basement just the bottom of a house? How can there be 2 levels of a basement? Well, then again, what would you call the lowest? I guess maybe I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm talking about. The lowest level is a basement to any house. So maybe the second to last level of the Winchester house is also a basement because it's not an actual room. I guess maybe I just talked myself into that. And then finally, last but not least, 3 freaking elevators. How many of us would love to say that we live in a home that has an elevator? Pretty much all of us, right? Pretty much every single one of us. A house with 3 elevators, sign me up. Except maybe this place, because this place might be haunted. Winchester's property was about 162 acres at one time, but the estate has since been reduced to 4.5 acres, the minimum necessary to contain the house and nearby outbuildings. It has gold and silver chandeliers, hand-laid parquet floors and trim, and a vast array of colors and materials. Due to Mrs. Winchester's debilitating arthritis, special easy riser stairways were installed as a replacement for her original steep construction. This allowed her to move about her home freely, as she would only be able to raise each foot a few inches. There was only one working toilet for Winchester. It has been said that all other restrooms were decoys to confuse spirits, and that this is also the reason why she slept in a different room each night. Okay, stop the presses. Holy crap. So you mean to tell me, let's go back. 161, 40 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms. Okay, it doesn't actually say how many bathrooms there are. That's a little jarring. But I'm going to read that again because that is crazy. There was only one working toilet for Winchester. It has been said that all other restrooms were decoys to confuse spirits. And this is also why the reason she slept in a different room each night. Okay. The second one I get. I get why you'd want to sleep in a different room because this way the spirits don't know which room you're sleeping in. But why the bathroom? Spirits, as far as I know, don't need to use the restroom. So why would you do that? Oh wow, that's crazy. The home's conveniences, the home's conveniences were rare at the time of its construction. These included steam and forced air heating, modern indoor toilets and plumbing, push-button gas lights, and Mrs. Winchester's personal and only hot shower from indoor plumbing. There are also 3 elevators, including an Otis Electric, and one of which was powered by a rare horizontal hydraulic elevator piston. Well, I mean, if you're gonna piss money away, you might as well piss money away, right? Most elevator pistons are vertical to save space, but Winchester preferred the improved functionality of the horizontal configuration. Holy crap, huh? That's crazy. Mrs. Winchester never skimmed on the many adornments she believed contributed to its architectural beauty. Many of the stained glass windows were created by Pacific American Decorative Company. Some were okay, we don't really need to know that. Some were designed especially for her and others by her, including a spiderweb window that featured her favorite web design and the repetition of the number 13 in another of her preoccupations. Remember, I told you the number 13 is quite prominent throughout the house. This window was never installed but exists in the so-called $25,000 storage room, so named because its contents were originally appraised at a value of $25,000. The value today is inestimable, but 25,000 would be equivalent of 387,000 today. A second window was designed by Tiffany himself, so that when sunlight strikes the prismatic crystals, a rainbow is cast across the room. The window was also installed as an interior wall. Excuse me. The window was installed as an interior wall in a room with no light exposure, preventing the effect from being seen. Again, just one of those things like, yeah, I don't know what this is going to do. Let's just throw it in there. It sounds like it's really cool. All right. Before I continue any further, if no one's watching, surprise, surprise, Facebook friends, Twitter followers, people that just randomly browse other people's live feeds on YouTube. I'm here. Where are you? Second to last video of this series. I'm just calling you all out at this point. When Winchester died, all of her possessions, apart from the house, were bequeathed to her niece and personal secretary. Her niece then took everything she wanted and sold the rest in a private auction. It supposedly took 6 trucks working 8 hours a day for 6 weeks to remove all the furniture from the home. An accountant disputed this by Winchester's biographer. Mrs. Winchester made no mention of the mansion in her will, and appraisers considered the house worthless due to damage caused by an earthquake, the unfinished design, and the impractical nature of its construction. It was sold at an auction to a local investor for over $135,000, and subsequently leased for 10 years to John and Mame Brown, who eventually purchased the house. In February 1923, 5 months after Winchester's death, the house was opened to the public. with Maine Brown serving as the first tour guide. So they didn't even know what to do with the house. They pretty much wanted to say the house was worthless. I'm sorry, that house is not worthless. It's crazy, it's confusing, it's head scratching, but it's not worthless. Today, the home is owned by Winchester Investments LLC, a privately held company representing the descendants of John and Mame Brown. The home retains unique touches that reflect Mrs. Winchester's beliefs and her reported preoccupation with warding off malevolent spirits. These spirits are said to have directly inspired her as the way the house should be built. The number 13 and spiderweb motifs, which carried spiritual significance for her, occur throughout the house. Tour guides at the house often make claims of Sarah Winchester having patented various architectural features of the house by a simple search of the U.S. Patent Trademark Database. Produces zero patents assigned. Hold on. Tour guides at the house often make claims of Sarah Winchester having patented various architectural features of the house, but a simple search of U.S. Patent and Trademark Database produced zero patents assigned to her. Well, that sucks. So she probably came up, she was probably a revolutionary at architectural design. She probably came up with stuff that no one ever thought of at the time, but we probably now see it every day in certain households. But because she never actually put a patent on it, she'll never get credit for it. That kind of sucks. In 2016, it was announced that another room with period furniture was built in the courtyard, an attic space that contains a pump organ, Victorian couch, dress form, sewing machine, and paintings. This room was made available for viewing by the public and features a shooting range game. I have no idea what that means. In 2017, the Winchester Mystery House debuted their first new daytime tour in 20 years, the Explore More Tour. This tour takes guests to rooms never before open to the public and explores the rooms left unfinished at the time of Sarah Winchester's death. So yes, you can of course go to the Winchester Mystery House. And I remember saying in the original video that I made for this, would I want to go? And a part of me said yes, and a part of me says no. I would go, but I, for the love of God, would not want to get lost and be alone in that place. All right. So obviously you can see why I did a Mystery Unsolved video, because the freaking Winchester house, it's crazy, it's nutty, and it's just fun to hear about. Before I read you the popular culture part of this, I want to see if the thing that I'm thinking of is in here. I don't think it is. Okay. So before I read you the popular culture aspects of this, I would like you to know that I had read or I heard a few years back that they decided to take a census of the house. Like they wanted to count how many rooms. And remember, originally I told you there was 161 rooms in the house. Well, apparently before that, when they did a count, they counted different numbers each time, because not because like obviously the earthquake would have taken away floors and rooms, but based off the fact that the rooms have remained untouched for the last however many years. So let's say they started with 155. Then they did a census like 2 years later. Like, wait a minute, there's 158. They did a census of the next year. There's 161. So the theory is that the spirits are actually still building on the house, and that no matter how many times people try to count how many rooms are in this place, it's always a different number, which I thought was kind of an interesting tale. I don't know if it's true or not, but just that little gem there is enough to make me go, wow, that's pretty crazy. Popular culture. The Winchester house was Walt Disney's inspiration for the Haunted Mansion at Disney parks. Ha! You learn something new every day. The house is a primary setting for Michaela Rosner's 1993 science fiction novel Vanishing Point, in which it becomes the home of the squatter community following the disappearance of most of the human race. Oh, Jesus, okay. The Winchester house is the setting of a subplot in the 1997 Tim Powers fantasy novel Earthquake Weather. The Haunting of Winchester, a ghost story musical by Craig Baumler and Mary Kraken Phillips that takes place in the house. It was commissioned by okay. The British paranormal TV investigation show Most Haunted conducted a 7-hour live TV investigation of the house for the Travel Channel on October 19th, 2007, making it television history as the first ever 7-hour live TV paranormal investigation hosted by British presenter Paul Ross. The team consisted of the regular Most Haunted members of a house with a comparable design in history but a set a millennium into the future from the time of the Winchester house is a narrative location in the 2007 science fiction novel House of Sun. Instead of being home to and built by a weapons heiress, it is a cloning heiress responsible due to her fear of the cloning souls exacting revenge for their unwanted duplicate. What? That's weird. I like how a lot of authors make this a plot for their novels. I, as an author, have not once considered making the Winchester house a plot for my novel. Or a setting. Plot or setting. Haven't thought of it. Still isn't even seeping into my brain, even as I continue talking about it. Let us continue. For the 2012 episode of Mythbusters, Smell of Fear, I totally had a list just then. You know, most people would probably just kind of do double takes and triple takes and stuff. I just film and keep going, talking over myself. That's why I'm better than you people. That's why I'm better than you video people who have like several to 10 takes. Like I can see it when there's the skip. Like up, yeah. Anyway, back to the Winchester Mystery House. The build team visited the Winchester Mystery House, Mythbusters, to look around and later watch one of the scariest movies of all time. The title of which wasn't revealed. On a television that they set up in the grand ballroom, then gather their sweat samples for testing. Okay, whatever. I don't know what the hell it's talking about. Apparently they watched a movie inside the house. I don't know. Ghost Adventures, Ghost Brothers, they did an episode there. There was a film called in 2017 called Winchester featuring Helen Mirren as Sarah Winchester. Movie sucked. I watched it. It wasn't scary at all. It was kind of poor. It was poorly made. In 2018, the Lore podcast produced an episode that described the Winchester mansion called Locked Away. In 2019, Criminal Podcast produced an episode about the Winchester mansion entitled The Widow and the Winchester. The Winchester Mystery House was featured twice in BuzzFeed Unsolved, in which included them staying in the house overnight, which of course is the reason that I am doing the video now and did it in the past is because I watched the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode. But even if I didn't watch this, I'd still probably do it because this house is, of course, very famous. The Winchester Mystery House was featured on the 100th episode of American Horror Story. I do not remember that. Don't remember it. Maybe I didn't see that season. I don't know. Let's see. It was a Dark Horse comic. It was a novel. Mrs. Winchester's Gun Club, a novel by Doug Bouton. That sounds pretty cool. I might check that out. In January of 2021, an episode of the award-winning podcast This Paranormal Life was released discussing the Winchester Mystery House. The hosts deemed all claims of haunting to be false. Screw you guys. The mansion in this miniseries Rose Red, created by Stephen King, is greatly inspired by the Winchester Mystery House. My mom used to watch this show to death. This miniseries to death. So naturally, I always wondered, gee, why does it always sound like the Winchester Mystery House? because that's what inspired it, Justin. Oh, sometimes I'm just slow. I don't know. Well, this has been the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved, the Winchester Mystery House. I do hope you enjoyed it, for those that watched this in the playback, because I've pretty much been talking to myself for 30 minutes. Holy shit. 30 minutes of talking to myself. That's just lovely. Thank you, people, for not watching. Um, so I want to do one more episode, and guess what? No one's watching this, but will they watch the one that I do right after? For the first time and probably the last time, I'm going to be doing the last episode, the next episode, now. After I end this one, I'm starting this all over. So, I do hope you enjoyed this episode of Mystery Unsolved. I apologize if I was ranting and raving like a mad lunatic. All in good fun. I will see you in a few more minutes for the last episode of Mystery Unsolved.